Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start with a simple question. How many of us were taught how to calculate taxes, build credit, invest money, or even budget correctly before turning into adults? Probably not many. But somehow, the second we turn 18, the world expects us to understand loans, credit cards, rent, insurance, and debt like we've been preparing for it our whole entire lives. The reality is, a lot of young adults are entering the real world financial unprepared. And it's not because they're lazy or unintelligent, it's because nobody actually taught them. That's why I strongly believe financial literacy should be required in every high school in America. Today, I'm going to talk about three major reasons why. First, financial literacy helps young adults avoid debt and financial mistakes. Second, it creates independence and long-term stability. And third, it can completely change future generations and communities for the better. Let's start with the first point. One of the biggest problems young adults face today is debt. The average person graduates high school knowing how to solve algebra equations or identify parts of a cell. But many do not know how credit cards work or how interest builds over time. That becomes dangerous. A lot of young adults get their first credit card without understanding of APR, minimum payments, or how fast debt can grow. Then suddenly, they're trapped paying off balances for years. According to the National Financial Educator Council, many Americans estimate they lose over $1,000 every year because of lack of financial knowledge. That's real money. And those mistakes add up quickly. Think about this. If an 18-year-old gets a credit card and spends $2,000 without understanding interest, that debt can snowball really fast. Add car payments, student loans, subscriptions, and then impulse spending, and now they're overwhelmed. But imagine if schools actually taught budgeting, saving, taxes, investing, and responsible spending habits early. Then students would enter adulthood with confidence instead of confusion. Financial literacy gives people tools to survive in the real world. And honestly, that matters more than memorizing information they may never use again. Now, let's move on to the second point. Financial literacy creates independence and long-term stability. Money affects almost every area of our lives. Stress, relationships, mental health, career choices, freedom, everything. When people do not understand money, they often live paycheck to paycheck. They struggle with savings, and they feel stuck financially. But when people understand how to manage money, it changes their mindset completely. But when people understand how to manage money correctly, they change for the better. Instead of spending impulsively, they begin thinking long term. Instead of surviving, they start building. For example, learning about investing early can completely change somebody's future. If a young adult starts investing small amounts consistently into something like the S&P 500 at an early age, compound interest can grow that money massively over time. Most teenagers never even hear about compound interest until adulthood. But imagine how different things would look if students learned this at 16 instead of 26. A study published by Journal of Economic Psychological found that people with higher financial literacy tend to make better financial decisions, save more effectively, prepare better for retirement. That's powerful. Financial literacy is not just about becoming rich. It's about creating options. It's about being able to handle emergencies. It's about reducing stress. It's about not feeling trapped by money. And in today's world, where prices are increasing everywhere, those skills matter more than ever. Now let's talk about the third point. Teaching financial literacy could improve entire communities and future generations. Money habits are often passed down. If parents struggle financially, many times their children grow up without learning healthy financial habits either. That cycle keeps repeating. But education has the power to break cycles. When students learn how to budget, invest, avoid unnecessary debt, and build wealth early, they can eventually teach their own children these same habits. That creates generational improvement. Communities become stronger when people understand how to manage money responsibly. There would likely be fewer bankruptcies, less predatory debt, and more people prepared for emergency or retirement. Financial literacy also encourages responsibility and discipline. People begin setting goals. They learn patience. They understand delayed gratification. Instead of buying everything immediately, they start thinking strategically. And honestly, those habits don't just help financially, they help in life overall. Now, some people argue that financial education should be taught at home instead of schools. And while parents absolutely play an important role, not every student has access to financial guidance at home. Some parents were never taught themselves. So, if schools truly want to prepare their students for adulthood, then teaching financial literacy should be just as important as teaching math, science, or history. Because eventually every student will have to deal with money. Whether it's taxes, rent, saving accounts, insurance, loans, investing, retirement planning, financial knowledge affects everyone regardless of their career path. And the earlier people learn those skills, the better off they'll be. Imagine graduating high school already knowing how to create a budget, build correctly debt, avoid debt traps, and invest for your future. That confidence alone can change lives. Before I conclude, I want everyone to think about this. How different would life be for millions of Americans if they were taught financial literacy early? How many people would avoid debt? How many families would experience less stress? How many young adults would feel more confident entering the real world? Financial education is not optional anymore, it's necessary. In conclusion, financial literacy should absolutely be required in high schools because it helps students avoid financial mistakes. It creates independence and long term stability, and it improves future generations and communities. Schools are supposed to prepare students for life, and life involves money. Whether we like it or not, it does. So instead of waiting for young adults to figure everything out through trial and error, we should start giving them the tools now. Because one of the class could genuinely change someone's future forever. Thank you.